Step 1, Vinny growls at me for petting him.
I don't like that. I like that a lot.
Part 2, Vinny growls at me for doing his nails. Step 3, Vinny growls at me for socializing him with other dogs. Step 4, Vinny growls at me for playing with him with a ball. Out! Vinny bites David because he put out a toy. Out. Yes. Out. Yes. Out. Yes. Out. Foos. Plots. Yes. Bring. Hold. Yes. Foos. Bring. Hold. Yes. All right, so now we'll be able to talk about what we're doing. Callie, down. So right now what we're doing, good, is we're combining a lot of the pieces that we were working on last week with her. So obviously the hip swing and the downstay, the follow command that we were working on last time a little bit, and we're starting to piece everything together and get things kind of correlating and translating together now that she has about 1 week left with us. She's obviously crushing it. She's holding her bed stays really nice, holding her down stays really nice. That hip swing is looking really smooth with the down. Her motivation, though she's not the most motivated dog in the world, has substantially increased, which has helped with the learning process. And obviously we're working around a ton of distractions at this point. So I would say all in all, she's looking awesome, and we're just gonna kind of put her through the motions with some of this. Good. In addition to that, one thing we're gonna be doing here, Callie, come, is testing that duration. Bed. Down. Good. Testing that duration with some like out of sight work. So you'll notice when I put her in command, excuse me, I'm just kind of going around the corner, making things more challenging for her, getting her used to seeing different stuff. And then I'm implementing 2 rewards in this process. So the initial reward for getting into command, good. Secondary reward is for the duration here. So reinforcing for her holding position while I'm going away, or increasing those distractions. Callie, come. And then utilizing that follow command here to transition in between commands. Just walking her down the hall. Callie, down. Implementing that down stay here. Good. Again, the hip swing looking really good. So obviously this is a pretty cool dog because you guys have been able to really see that start to finish process with her for the most part here, as far as when she very first came in, our first session or two we did with her, all the way to obviously getting to off-leash reliability and stuff. Down. Good. Like, if what you're saying is true and like he's really exhibiting these extreme behavioral issues like this, that's very relationship based, right? We may be able to get the foster able to get past these issues. We may be able to get you to get past these issues. I'm sure I could get past these issues with this dog, but when you go to rehome that dog, it's that clock is going to kind of start all over again, you know, and that person is going to have to work through all of those things with that dog as well. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's not a matter of like behavioral issue goes away, then we rehome the dog and then the person never sees it. It's a matter of we learn how to work through the behavioral issue, we rehome the dog, and then we tell the owner basically, you know, you're probably going to see this behavioral issue at some point, and this is how you work through it when you see it. And again, like a lot of people, like that's, you know, that's a lot to ask of somebody, you know, that isn't really familiar with this kind of stuff.
So it's been a lot difficult the last couple months because we go to family parties and my husband's just holding the dog.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, like, so Christmas time, you know, we couldn't enjoy sitting at the dinner table or opening up gifts because he just can't handle it.
Yeah, and you know, that's why training is so important. My wife is from Connecticut, and last Thanksgiving we went back to go spend the holiday with her family, and we brought 2 of our dogs with us, and for probably 4 hours while we were having Thanksgiving dinner, like we had them hold bed stays off to the side to stay out of the way, not be underfoot, not be messing with anybody while they were eating or anything, and because they're trained, they're able to do that, and that's a very realistic thing that our clients are able to accomplish post-training. How long have we been in here for? Like an hour, something like that, right? She's been holding that downstay for like an hour now, like a freaking champ. And this is stuff we do throughout our board and train program, is give these dogs real life situations. We've got a bunch of computer work to do. I'm reaching out to potential clients. We're booking programs, things like that. And I always try to pull out some of the board and trains that I'm working with to use that as a great opportunity to work on that extended duration. I always say the down stay is great, the bed stay is great, but what's really magical about that command is the ability to get the dog to hold it for prolonged, extended periods of time, especially in the presence of distractions like dogs coming through, like us doing things, people coming in and out, door opening, door closing, stuff like that. So we are kind of crunching away at some of these last few things we got to get done here, and then we're going to get into some further sessions with our other board and trains that we have here. We're just starting to build her food drive, so similar situation to when Callie got here, obviously. Okay, food drive, okay. Not phenomenal, not super terrible, obviously. So we're looking to increase it here. Using some leash pressure. Where are you going? Right there, sit. To teach some of our basic commands. Good. And just building that drive here. So she came here for a lot of reactivity issues and stuff, so getting her used to this kind of stuff obviously is important. Okay. Come on, sit. Good. Oop. Good. Okay. Sit. Good. Okay. Sit. Good. Okay. Good. Okay. Sit. Good. Okay. Sit. Good. Okay. Sit. Good. Okay. Sit. Good. We got to get into some leash walking with her. I just started this yesterday. So typically speaking, our intro leash walking is always done on the prong collar before we add the e-collar in it. And I want to get that leash walking to like a 75–80% kind of success rate as far as the dog understanding what to do before we go to layer the e-collar into this. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this dump truck go by here. And then we're going to kind of demonstrate a move that we do called the 180 that helps really focus dogs in that are very like distracted. All right, so 180 move. Basically, this is for dogs that are really, really tuned out, right? To help kind of focus them back in a little bit. Like you see her nose just glued to the ground. She's very fixated on things going on around her. And this is where a lot of her reactivity issues came from that she was originally struggling with. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start walking. You can kind of stay there. I'm just gonna go back and forth right here. I'm gonna stay loose on the leash, and when she gets ahead, I'm gonna give a leash pop and then turn. And the goal here is to keep the attention leveraged on us as we're walking. Now, I'm not worried too much about sniffing or anything like that as we go. All I really care about is that on those turns that she turns with me, right? And again, we started this yesterday, so she's starting to do much better with it. Notice she's actually giving me attention, and she's kind of staying right where we want her to be on the walk, which is good. That's her starting to show that, you know, 80% kind of success rate with this. Even on those turns, notice I'm not needing to apply any pressure. She's actually turning with me, which is really great. And again, leash pop, turn. Same deal, turn, she's turning with me there. I'll kind of come right near the camera with this one, see if we can catch that turn. And notice I'm not really slowing down or anything. Leash pop, turn. Try that one more time here. Try this again. So moving towards the camera, turning, and that's what I want to see, is that attention stays on me there. Now keep in mind, with our heeling, with our leash walking, the positioning is not so much important. It's not that they have to be perfectly in line with your leg or anything. The point of leash walking is making sure that the dog's attention is on us. So whether they walk slightly behind us, whether they stay in a tight heel position, or whether they maintain like kind of like a center of the body in line with the leg kind of thing, that's okay depending on where the dog is most comfortable maintaining attention. I should be able to realistically go for a walk like we're doing right now and not need to give any corrections, because the dog understands the boundary of just maintaining focus, right? And that's where you start to get the dog really getting what we need, where then we could start layering in our e-collar pressure and continuing to proof things. So she's doing wonderful with this right now. And again, keep in mind, she's only been here since Saturday. We're making a post about her. She came here all the way from New York City for dog aggression issues, quote unquote dog aggression issues. You'll see in a minute here, we're gonna go socialize her. She's not actually dog aggressive, and I definitely recommend everybody reads that post. We kind of discussed you know, why we think that's the case as far as a lot of dogs getting misled or misinterpreted as dog aggressive, where that's not actually the case. Very good. So again, notice that turning away from the dog. Again, getting into, she had reactivity issues, not dog aggression issues. So as we're working on this and we're keeping the attention on us, we could start to kind of isolate those outside distractions that gave her a hard time and make sure that she focuses in nicely on us. So this looks great. We're gonna end that on that. Okay, so these two are here for board trains. They just got dropped off Friday morning, so they've only been here for 3 or 4 days, something like that. They have been getting into really massive fights with each other, and it has kind of boiled up to like a high level of grudginess, where like basically on site they were trying to go for each other. So it wasn't like the fighting where it's like they're cool some of the time, they fight other times. It was on contact, on site, trying to fight, and pretty intense with it. Yesterday was the first time that we've socialized them with each other, and you can see right now they're just chilling, they're ignoring each other. They have muzzles on obviously, but they've hit a point where they can coexist with each other, obviously in the same room. They're not in commands or anything right now. They're free to do whatever they want to do, and they've been pretty good with that. Yesterday that was not the case. Yesterday they tried to freaking go at each other quite a bit for about, it's probably like a 30-minute session, 45-minute session. And as that session progressed, it started extremely intense. Then really, just a lot of noise and dominance and jumping on each other and mounting and this and that. And as that session progressed, what we saw is it got less intense, less intense, less intense, less intense as they kind of started to figure each other out a little bit. And this kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of what we talked about is we haven't given a single correction for this, right? There's been no consequences for any of the behavior or anything because they needed to learn initially how to interact with each other. They needed to kind of figure out some of their beef a little bit here in a safe way with proper supervision where nobody was going to get hurt or anything. And as they've kind of worked through that cycle, we've seen it de-escalate to this point where when we brought them in the room today, there's a little bit of growling and a little bit of like head over the shoulder and this and that, but there was no like actual trying to attack or anything like that. And we've seen substantial progress for it. So this is going to be a really interesting case to follow. I feel like I'm losing my voice right now. Where, you know, everybody that likes to kind of give us shit for, you know, letting some of this stuff play out a little bit and letting these dogs really learn how to interact with each other, we'll be able to see some of that progress and see how this kind of works out in our favor and why we do it. Yes, we could have corrected right away when these dogs started doing this. We could have been like, you know, whatever, give really big corrections when they started growling, when they got each other's space and essentially taught them just to avoid each other. But the problem is at some point, they're going to have to learn how to interact. At some point, they're going to have to learn what happens when they're near each other. At some point, they're going to have to learn how to communicate properly in a less confrontational way, in a safer way, and without the need of us constantly micromanaging it. And this is what I think is missing in a lot of the world of socialization and in a lot of the world of rehabilitating dogs that are getting in fights with each other. So, really awesome progress. Pretty pumped on this. We will, as Paige said, clip in some of the before footage. I missed a lot of the real bad stuff initially, but we got some before footage from yesterday that we'll add in here. So. Okay, so we just posted a video of Lucy, the dog we were socializing earlier, talking about like the dog aggression, not dog aggression, this, that. And we got a couple of questions, or I shouldn't even say questions, we got a couple of comments of people kind of making some statements that I want to further continue to kind of debunk here. So a couple people were saying things along the lines of, oh, well, yeah, Lucy is playful, but she's really annoying with her play, and, you know, that's where the problem starts because that'll start a dog fight from somebody else. And this is where we get into, let's say hypothetically, Lucy, who was playing, she was a little rough with her play and stuff, but she was just playing, right? There wasn't any sort of aggression or anything in association with any of it. Let's say hypothetically she did that to another dog, she was playing, and that other dog just full-on attacked her, right? And a huge dog fight broke out from it or something like that. That would not be a Lucy problem, right? That would not be a, oh, this dog just attacked her because she was being really rough with her play, so that means we need to stop Lucy from being rough with her play to not instigate that fight. That would be, we need to take a look at the dog we were socializing her with and ask ourselves, why would a dog go from 0 to 100 and attack another dog in a situation where another dog is just trying to play with them regardless of how rough it was? And, you know, these are the things I'm constantly trying to get across to people when we talk about socialization, when we talk about working through socialization-related issues, is a lot of the things that we as trainers step in and try to advocate for are because we're likely socializing our dog with the wrong dogs, right? Again, if you have a dog that is going to act out or lash out because another dog is getting annoying and actually attack another dog as opposed to just correct them or something, you need to be, you're looking at the wrong dog. You need to be looking at the dog that's doing the attacking in those situations. So I'm just kind of further trying to clarify those things. Thought that was an interesting point as I was seeing these comments. Hello? Where's your client? Did you just steal their dog? Oh, really? Down. 607. Matt walks circles around a dog.
Okay.
608. Matt releases dog from sit stay. forest is nice. It smells like a little rainforest. I like those ones.
Charlotte,
Right.
bed. I yelled no. They both retreated.
Okay.
The remotes were in the other room. This was right before I clocked in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was the only time I didn't have to correct them. I should
But,
have.
okay, I was gonna say, did you go and get it and still give the correction?
No, I did not
Oh.
correct them. I actually, I had to turn them on.
Sure.
I had to go grab them, and it was like 5 seconds before I had to clock in.
Yeah.
I had to go grab my cell phone.
I understand. Yeah. No, here's the thing, right? So the reason why, that's okay, right? I'm not saying, I'm guilty of that sometimes as well, right? There are times I tell my dogs no and don't correct them. The point is, and this is the good thing, as we're more clear with the dogs, as we're more consistent about always applying that correction after the no marker, et cetera, what happens is in those kind of freak scenarios like you ran into when it's like, shit, we're not ready for this, no, right? You guys are doing something wrong. Everybody stops because they know that correction typically comes. And if we can't, for whatever reason, go give that correction like once in a blue moon, it's okay, it works still, you know? Because we've made the connection that we are the ones that are doing this. It has nothing to do with the training equipment, you know what I mean? And that's kind of the importance of this, and that's fantastic. And you know, obviously I wish we still were able to give the correction, but it worked, right? We did our job, which allowed us to be successful in that moment, right?
Because they both retreated, they went back to where they needed to.
100%.
Successful.
That's awesome. That's really great to hear.
At the same time, he got the bed stay one time.
Yeah.
I put him back in bed stay.
Yep.
And I yelled no. The remotes were in the other room. I still went out and got the remote, and
Good.
I still corrected him.
Perfect. Yeah. Cool.
I did that at a low setting. Like
That's okay.
Lower setting. I didn't do it in a high setting.
Here's the thing, you know, as far as the setting is concerned, like the level and stuff, it's just whatever works. So whether it's low, whether it's high, as long as it alters their behavior and they cared enough about it, you know, like the level itself is kind of irrelevant at that point. We just, like last time we had kind of discussed, err on the side of higher rather than lower for things just to make sure it counts, obviously, but that's okay.
I feel like if we had the remotes on us and
Sure.
at the correction, it was right on the spot.
Yeah.
And high, fine. But if we had to go grab the remote, I try to turn it down a little bit, so.
Sure.
But still correct them.
Yeah.
And it's still at a reasonable amount.
As long as they care about it, right? Just I don't like the justification of like, because it was a couple seconds later, we turn it down. Now, here's the thing, right? If the level that you turned it down to was still enough where they cared about it, then that's fine, obviously, but don't make it because it was a couple seconds later we turned it down, right? So, but that's great. I mean, it sounds like we're moving in the right direction, so I'm happy about that. The only thing I would say, as far as your scenario you ran into, like with the dogs and stuff, this is where I get into, you know, temporarily eliminating some of those furniture privileges to eliminate some of the guarding tendencies, you know?
That's the only place they're allowed on the couch.
And that's the place you had the issue.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where, you know, I get into, again, I don't give a shit if they go on the couch in there, right? But right now, because she showed you that when she's on that couch, even if that's the only piece of furniture she's allowed on right now, that she's more likely to get defensive and territorial because this is my couch, this is my only piece of furniture kind of thing, I would go to eliminating that privilege for a little bit until we've really had some success. Then you could kind of implement it back in. It's pretty good.
Hi.
I know. You gotta let everybody know he's here.
He's beautiful.
Yeah, he's a good looking dog. Nothing, man. It's pretty good. They're like, what are you doing?
Oh, his ears.
Yeah.
You're sick of your brother. Why are you sick of your brother? He's like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I said hi.
There we go, we're getting some wags. Couple wags. There you go, a little butt sniff.
I'm waiting to get knocked over.
Yeah.
Charlotte's just like,
Yeah, but here's the thing, you know, on the contrary, I always say like boring is not bad, you know? I would rather it be very uneventful and boring than obviously a whole bunch of commotion and stuff. There it is. Charlotte. Good. And notice I'm not using like a come command for this or anything, right? I just getting her loosening up with me. And frankly, like I said, like they know me, but they don't know me that well. I didn't do a lot of their training and stuff like that while they were here, obviously, so it's normal that she would be a little bit apprehensive. Now notice with this, I'm not like invading her space and interacting. Anytime I go to interact with a dog, especially one that's insecure, I always make them come to me first. Charlotte, come here. And if they make that contact on their own, that typically makes the process much smoother when you go to interact with them, where 9 out of 10 bites that I see happen are if a dog is nervous and you try to, hey puppy, or like go into their space. It's very, very intrusive and definitely causes a lot of defensive behaviors. Charlotte, come here. Yeah, Charlotte, come on. Charlotte. Charlotte, come on. Good, there you go. And by making her kind of come to me in that situation, what I'm doing is I'm kind of putting her into like a little bit more of a submissive state of mind before I go to interact, which again makes her much less likely to then be territorial or defensive. So a lot of this comes down to not so much the atmosphere, but taking away it from making it not optional, you know? Like I'm not like debating with her on like if she's gonna let me do the nails or not. I'm just doing the nails, you know?
you're like, no, this is
Yeah, like if she tries to get away, you know, I keep holding the paw, I don't let go, you know? And then she learns, it's just, you have to tolerate it. And I find a lot of people that try to do it at home that don't have success, it's a little too optional, you know? If the dog puts up too much of a fight, they stop as opposed to working them through it, you know? Here. Even when she tries to get away. Now normally I would have them on leash for this, obviously, but I don't let her get away, right? See how she's trying to move away when I'm, you know, doing the back paws. I'm just gonna wait and let her realize that she still needs to stay in this space, right? And I'm not gonna start grinding until she stops doing this, obviously, but she's gotta realize that she can't. Yes. There we go. Then when the resistance goes away, that's when we start the process of grinding again. Now when you're doing this though, avoid making it a two-person job. Like obviously if you guys each want to get one dog or something, that's fine, but don't, like how you said, like can I help, like kind of like grabbing and like restraining the dog. This should always only be a one-person job, because the problem is if one person is physically restraining the dog while the other's trying to grind, the dog is not learning that they can't fight. Because that's the key with this, is she has to learn she needs to stand there and tolerate this, you know? And if we're just physically holding her in place, she's not learning that, right? Which is why I wait until, again, the resistance goes away. And then once that resistance goes away again, that's when we start the grinding process.
He's doing really good.
You know, and even stuff like this, if I notice any of this, you have to just work through it, you know? We'll see dogs obviously put up way more of a fight than this initially sometimes. You just gotta kind of let them work through it there. Most things that may seem like a problem, just kind of try to let it work itself out for the most part. So instead of like anytime you see a little growl or snap from her or something like that, like we saw here, stepping in and be like, Charlotte, don't do that, or correcting her, or this or that, let them kind of create those boundaries and establish that hierarchy with each other, you know? And then two, keep in mind that obviously having a puppy, don't make the mistake a lot of people mistake of giving the puppy too much freedom too quick, right? So your breaks should be less like putting the puppy in one room and the dogs in one room and just letting them be apart. Your breaks should be much more putting the puppy in the crate for prolonged periods of time, because obviously we need to start getting the puppy acclimated to that, and puppies are like kids and need like nap time, you know? So I follow a protocol with puppies of like a 2 hour in, 2 hour out, like rotation, where like I have them out of the crate for 2 hours, I put them in the crate for 2 hours, I take them out of the crate for 2 hours, I put them in the crate for 2 hours, and I do that until the dog is like really like 4.5 months old, stuff like that. And then anytime that puppy is out of the crate, it should be on a leash at all times in the house. And if you guys haven't already, I don't know if you watch any of our YouTube videos and stuff, but I do a podcast, and a couple months ago when we got our puppy, I did like an entire episode on like what my whole first week with that puppy was like. And I just kind of discussed everything I did with the dog for the first week. I would definitely recommend you guys take a listen to that and just kind of follow some of those procedures and stuff, because that'll just help you be successful with the dog. All right, guys, we're just finishing the vlog. We did a lot of things today. We were all over the place today. We worked on a lot of interesting things, so I think this is gonna be a fun one. So we're wrapping it up. Thanks.
That's it.
See you next time.